I'm so sorry I was on mute. Hello, hello. Kya haal hai? What's happening? How are you doing on this Sunday morning? Welcome to the Big Match Theory. I'm Mangesh, and I want to talk about the game week action that happened last night. And I also wanted to talk about the a midweek game that happened on Monday. Of course, I'm referring to Manchester United's game against Everton at Old Trafford. And I really wanted to talk about it, but I decided against it because that performance was so horrible, so horrible. So I thought I'll just delay it because I know there was the probability of me saying something absolutely stupid that was really high. So I decided against it. So I thought of talking right now. And today, there were some really good games yesterday. Just give me a moment. Yeah, all right. So let's start with the games last night. So I got a chance to watch two games. The first was Manchester City versus Leeds at Etihad, and the second game was Everton's abysmal performance against Newcastle. I mean, you can you can fully trust teams to turn up when they are playing against Manchester United. So David Moyes' Everton, they played like peak Brazil against Manchester United. And last night, they were back to being absolute shit. They were absolute shit last night. But instead of me getting too emotional, let's start from Manchester City's game against Leeds United. It was a strange game, actually. At one point, it felt as if City are cruising in the game. And in the second half, they were just nowhere to be seen, at least for 30 minutes. They were just awful. And okay, so the final score was Man City 3, Leeds United 2. It was Foden who scored the first goal in the first minute. Then it was Guardiola. Then Leeds United made a substitution with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He came on, I think, in the second half, 46th or 47th minute, and he scored right away on the 49th minute. Then he earned a penalty. And instead of saying that he earned a penalty, I just do not understand what Guardiola was thinking at the time. It was one of the most horrendous challenges you will see this season. So he got a penalty for Leeds United, and the score was 2-all. And from that point, it felt that the game was City was just losing control of the game. Just imagine from 2-0 up against Leeds, the team that is unlikely to stay in the Premier League. And we are talking about Manchester City, Pep Guardiola's team. And while chasing, City were so predictable. When they were chasing from 2-0 down, I think the tactic was just give Doku the ball. All they did was to pass it to Doku. Doku tried taking 2, 3 players at a time. At times he created, at times he could not. Because it's quite understandable. When you're being so one dimensional, the opposition is going to mark your players. And this is exactly what happened with Doku, in my opinion. And Doku sort of reminds me of Nani. In the sense, I think Nani was a better dribbler of the ball. Luis Nani is one of those players who is quite underrated, in my opinion. And Nani was a better dribbler. Nani had a raw pace. Probably Doku has a better pace than Nani. He's fast, quicker than Nani. But I'm making the comparison in the sense when Doku is on song, he's unplayable at times. He's really, really good. And at the same time, he can be really frustrating. He can be really frustrating with his decision making. And City, being pretty one dimensional, being so direct, they are doing everything that Pep Guardiola preached for about 18 years. So preach is actually not exactly the right word, but the kind of tactics, the kind of passing play that Guardiola revolutionized. And City are, what City are trying to do right now is they are being direct. And that, I mean, it is quite clear that Pep Guardiola want it that way, and that was quite clear from the signing of Donnarumma. So for the first time in ages, Pep Guardiola has a goalkeeper who is not good with the ball, who is not good with ball at his feet. Let me go through a comment. Foden doing wonders as it is a World Cup year after being silent for about almost a year and a half. And I'll come to that, Akshay. That's a good point. But what I was surprised at is just Man City just could not handle Leeds United's directness, and they were completely uncomfortable. They fumbled. They just could not do anything at the time. They just could not break the deadlock at the time. I'm just going through Man City's team right now, and they had Tijani Reinders, they had Gonzalez, they had Foden, they had Doku, Silva, and Haaland. So they had so my first impression after last game, the game they lost against Newcastle, and the only midfielder who could hold the ball, who played, was Nico Gonzalez. And what Newcastle United team did was all three midfielders, three absolute tanks, Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and uh, who's the Italian midfield? His name escapes me now. That's a sign of being old. But all of them, they completely overpowered Gonzalez, and City just could not do anything. Last night, Gonzalez had Mirandez playing in front of him. And still, the feeling I had that two players were completely isolated in the game. One was Nico Gonzalez, and second was Erling Haaland. They just could not do anything at the time. And for after the game changed after Ryan Cherky came in. He came in from Tijani Reinders. Before that, City could not open teams up. They could not open up Leeds United defense. They could not make those defense splitting passes, between the line passes. They could not do that. As soon as Ryan Cherky came in, their game kind of changed. And in the last 10-15 minutes, City were much, much better. And as Akshay rightly suggested, that it was Phil Foden who rescued Man City. And I find it quite Phil Foden is quite an interesting player. So a couple of years back, in 2023-24, in the Euros year, so Akshay rightly said that Foden is doing wonders. It is a World Cup year. Foden was absolutely brilliant in the Euro year as well. So in the season before Euro 2024, in 2023-24 season, Foden was City's best player. He was the best player in the league. And on his song, he's still one of the best players in the league. But the problem with Foden, and this is just my opinion, is that he's more of a system player. That doesn't mean he cannot do well on his own, but he's much better when he is playing in a particular system. Right now, the problem with City is their system is struggling. The system is not working that well. So when he had someone like Ryan Cherky next to him, then he started with his link-ups. Then he started with those the 3-4 passes that City have, and this is how they opened their. This is how they opened Leeds up. But even though Man City scored the late winner, the last goal, the Foden's goal, was more of an individual brilliance. It was an individual brilliance more than a team goal. And that is something quite alarming, because the feeling I'm getting right now is a lot of teams, they are working Man City out. They're working tactics of Pep Guardiola out right now. And that's funny thing to say, because we are talking about Pep Guardiola, who was a winning machine for about 18 years, from 2018 to 2024, for about 16 years. He was a winning machine. He won everything he had in front of him. And now he's struggling. This is not a scenario that he's used to of being in. And this is something happened last season, because last season they were absolutely atrocious for about those 2 to 3 months. After a while, they stabilized. But then again, right now, they've been getting results. It's not like they're losing lot of games, but they lost two games last week. They lost in the Champions League. They lost last week against Newcastle. So they look shaky. And we can say that they are a title challenge. They will go all the way. They will fight till the end. But I don't think Man City are in title contention right now. It's just not, I'm not saying something new because it's this seems like Arsenal season. But Man City look very, very predictable. And I want to say that they will be a different team when you have Rodri in front of them. Rodri in the middle. When Nico Gonzalez, instead of maybe Nico Gonzalez has Rodri in front of him, or maybe Rodri plays along with him another midfielder like Tijani Reinders. But Tijani Reinders is someone who likes going forward. So I'm not really sure. This is quite an unusual situation for Pep Guardiola. This is an unusual situation for us fans. I've been watching football for quite some time because we have not seen Man City being so vulnerable, at least not during Pep Guardiola days. So that's quite interesting. And one of the reasons may be that Pep Guardiola has changed his ways or change the way he deals with teams. This maybe because he doesn't have players like Gundogan anymore. Gundogan was that player who could score a goal, who could link up really well. Now he also has Rodri missing. So yeah, let's see. Let me see who City are playing next week. City are playing on 3rd of December. City are playing Fulham. Again, it's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be an easy game. Fulham is a good team. And at Craven Cottage, I think they'll give a fight. And we saw that last night, they won the game against Tottenham. Okay. I feel like Pep's plan overall is good, but the profile of the player is just not there. Like Reinders was good for the first game, but I feel whenever Cherki is there, they are a bit better. See, both have a different profile, actually. Cherki is someone who is a fair player, who who takes on players. He's more of an attacking player. When we talk about Tijani Reinders, Reinders is a center midfielder. So they both of them have a different profile. And see, I always say that all the great teams, it's not just that they have great players. They also have team with great balance. And right now, City does not have balance, and that's quite surprising because uh, and see what happens is when you are. I don't want to say that Pep Guardiola is going through a very new season, but this is a completely uncharted territory for Pep Guardiola as well. So there is a possibility. What he did last season was he got a lot of players out. He signed a few new players. So there is a possibility that the new team, it might take some time to get it going. There is a possibility of that happening. So let's see what happens next season because this season it seems like it is Arsenal's to lose. Don't know why. Felt like Haaland was tired, and Haaland was completely isolated. He just could not do anything. And that's what I was trying to say. That what City did was Doku was just trying to cross the ball. He was trying to cross the ball to Haaland, and Haaland was tightly marked. He was really tightly marked. He did not have an inch of space. Even if even when he left the 6 yard box, he had a defender following him. So that made it very difficult for Haaland to function. And considering he was the only goal scorer, only prominent goal scorers Man City had, or they because of their reliance on him right now, it was not working. Do you think it's because of De Bruyne's absence that Man City is a bit like this? See, De Bruyne is one of the best players, one of the best midfielders to play in the Premier League. So when you have someone like him leaving, I mean that is going to affect team's performance. That is going to affect the way team plays. But there have been times, especially in 2023-24 season, when De Bruyne was out for I think 2-3 months. So it's not like they're not capable of handling De Bruyne's absence. They're completely capable of handling De Bruyne's absence. But I think right now what they are trying to do is they're trying to find a new way, or the Pep Guardiola is trying to find a new way to get all the players involved to play with a new philosophy, play with a new playing style, and it might take some time. And might happen. So maybe next season might be a good measure of what Pep Guardiola is doing because he's signing a lot of players. He signed a lot of players even in January last season. So maybe this is just a null and void season for Pep Guardiola. He's just letting it go. He's just seeing who plays and who is not what is working and what is not working. And the players who are working, maybe he'll keep, and those who are not working, maybe he'll let them go. Tejani is more of ball carrier, and Cherki is the center attacking midfielder. That's fair enough. I agree with that. But Tijani Reinders in this season, I've only seen him play well in the first game. It was, I think, it was against Wolves. But apart from that, Reinders has been okay. He hasn't been great. I'm not saying he's been absolutely rubbish, but he hasn't been great. He's not been able to stamp his authority on the games. And as I said, at times at times we don't appreciate how physical and how difficult the Premier League is. And it might take some time for players to adjust. Something like that might happen with Tijani Reinders. So maybe from January onwards, we'll have a better idea of how this season is going to be for Man City. Of course, they're going to finish in top four. There is a possibility that they might finish second, despite not actually challenging the league. They might finish second. But yeah, let's see what happens. Just hold on. Tijani is like more a replacement for Gundogan. Yeah, fair enough. But how long more will Pep be in Man City, do you think? See, from the success he has at City, right now, Pep Guardiola is like Alex Ferguson for Manchester City. I'm not making direct comparison, but for Manchester City, the guy who has won 6 titles, that's quite something. The guy who has won then countless domestic titles, including a treble. I mean, they are not going to let him go. Pep Guardiola will leave when he wants to leave. Man City, I don't think will sack Pep Guardiola. This is going to be Guardiola's final decision. Just like it happened with Alex Ferguson. It was Alex Ferguson who decided that he wanted to leave Manchester United. That was never going to be the other way around. The club was never going to let him go. That was never going to happen. And that might happen in 2012. But since City won the league on the final day, in the final seconds of the game, he prolonged his stay by another year. And something like that might happen. So right now, it's very difficult to say whether or not he's having a Mourinho season or whether or not he's having a bit of a slump that Alex Ferguson had between 2003 to 2006. Only time will tell. I'm so sorry. I made I made him a captain, and I'm someone who is not deep into FPL. But this time, I at least made a team. I made changes 1 hour before the game. But yeah, I have made him captain, and yeah, this is how he repays me, bastard. Ampadu was turned into a good CDM. I see him playing for a New Zealand team next season. He was really good. He was everywhere. He was I think when Doku was going down the left hand side, he was linking up with he was teaming up with right back to mark him. He was everywhere on the pitch. He was really really good last night. He was. I think was he the one who was taking throw-ins? So yeah, there was a case of him being everywhere on the pitch. Yeah, he was. This is a good point. I don't know if he will join a Champions League team, but yeah, he should join a very good team. Definitely a good team. Definitely a top 10 team next season. All right. Just give me a minute, guys. All right. After Man City's game, let's talk about the second game. The second game of that absolute horrible bastard David Moyes, whose team turned into a peak, I don't know, Brazil of 1970s, Pele's Brazil against Manchester United, the Old Trafford. And last night, they were just horrible. They were absolutely horrible. Absolute bastard. I was just fuming while watching that game. I just could not work it out. I just could not work it out why they were doing what they were doing. Maybe this is their real level. And they fucking played like champions at Old Trafford, and their own Hill Dickinson Stadium was fucking pricks. They could not do anything. Okay, I'm getting a bit carried away. I'm getting a bit emotional, but I'd have to say this was a good performance by Newcastle. This was a good performance by Newcastle. But I can't help understand the fact that it was before last night's game. Newcastle did not win a game away from home. They had only scored 3 goals away from home. Last night they scored four. Absolute horrible, horrible team. And yeah, I mean, actually, it was the final. Let me go through the final score. The final score was Everton 1, Newcastle 4. It was Tia who scored two, Miley who scored on the 25th minute, and it was what a delightful log by Baltimore. And Baltimore is been really good, man. He's really really interesting pick. He drops deep. This finishing is really, really good. This finishing is really cool. And he drops deep, he links up well. And yeah, I quite like him as a player. And probably there is a good chance after a couple of seasons that he might move to a bigger team. And I hope he has better fortune than the guy he replaced, that Alexander Isak. Because this guy is really good. Walter is really, really good player. And just Everton just could not do anything. So I think what happened was in the first game, Newcastle had the chance right from the first minute. They created the first chance in the first minute. I think it was Harvey Barnes. Then they had a corner. They scored for the corner. And for about 30 minutes, to be fair to them, Everton were good for about 30 minutes. They did a decent job. It wasn't the case of Newcastle dominating right from the first minute. And see, that's what usually happens when any team wins 3-0 or 4-0, right? We think that it is a complete domination and humiliation right from the first minute. That's not the case. And I hate to give this example, but even if we talk about a freakish result that United had at Anfield when we lost 7-0, in the first half, the score was just 1-0. Liverpool scored, I think, in the 40 something minute, 42nd or 44th minute. And in the first half, United was actually a better team. But the second half was an absolute freak result. And something like this always happens when the team loses 3-0. They don't lose 3-0 right from the first minute. At times, they consider in the first minute or consider early in the game. Then they try to fight back. The other team, they are defensively, they are robust, like Newcastle were last night. They were defensively really robust. And I mean, every player was fighting with an inch of their life. That did not have, just hold on. Yeah, that's right. Uh, it was Barnes, Harvey Barnes and Elanga, the Volterman, and they did not have Sandro Tonali last night. It was Gimares who occupied that deep playing role, and Gimares did the job perfectly well. He had Miley, who I think had an absolutely fantastic game. He had Joe Linton on the left. The entire team, the three-man midfield of Newcastle is really, really well. And Bruno Guimaraes, I thought he was driving force. He was everywhere on the pitch. And what happened for those 30 minutes after Everton considered the first goal? Everton actually did well. I mean, Drewsbury Hall, he was fighting everywhere. Garner, Garner, of course, is from Manchester United Academy. I thought Joel Garner was really well. Not what the fuck I'm talking about. James Garner, not Joel Garner, not the West Indian fast bowler. The James Garner, I think, he had a good game, but after 30th minute, I mean, they were just done, just done. After that, there was no coming back for them. There was simply no coming back because even in those 30th minute, Even the defenders were making forward runs. Michael Keane had a shot. Tarkovsky was making a forward run. They were trying their guts out, but for some reason, it wasn't working out at all. And Barnes had a couple of good chances. And when when Miley scored his second, it was an absolute howler by Pickford. And I'm not the greatest Jordan Pickford fan, but he more often than not he is reliable. He's almost always reliable for England. He is very good despite being great. And last night he made that howler, but Bastard could not do that against Manchester United. He did not do that. He played like a prime Lev Yashin against Manchester United, but last night he had a howler. And even in the 45th minute, I think was it the case? Who was the left back? Yeah, it was Mikalenko, and he made a mistake, or there was a mistake. There was a mistake involved, and after Everton made that mistake, Walter Mada, nobody was marking Walter Mada, and he had a clear chance, and he scored the goal. It was that simple. And second half was just a formality. I mean, there was nothing Everton could do. Absolutely nobody marked Walter Mada in that time. And Lewis Hall, I think one of the most impressive performances last night was from the left back, Lewis Hall. He was really, really good. He was making so many good crosses. He was making so many good passes from his left-hand side. Akshay is saying that Grealish had a good game, all things considered. I think, yeah, he had a good game. I think Bruce Berry Hall had a good game. I also thought James Garner had a decent game. So for about before Walter Mada scoring his third, it felt that Everton might do something. If they get a goal back in the first half, there was a possibility of them coming back into the game. But after they made a mistake for the third goal, there was no way they were going to come back. There was absolutely no chance. And yeah, it was a peach of a cross by Lewis Hall for Theo's second goal. It was fantastic. Fantastic performance by Newcastle. And I'm just checking their numbers. They had an XG of 1.91 compared to Everton's 0.99. So Everton had an XG of close to 1. And their ball position, Everton had 49% position and Newcastle had 51. So yeah, position was even. Total shot, Newcastle had 13, Everton had 10. But I think Newcastle had better chances than Everton. Barnes made a couple of. I mean, he had two easy chances. He could not bury them. They had 5 big chances, and yeah, two big chances missed, and both of them were missed by Harvey Barnes. So yeah, it was about Newcastle and Everton. It was a decent game, and while watching the game, I was just cursing David Moyes. I was just cursing David Moyes all the time. And to be fair to him, we can say whatever we want about David Moyes, but David Moyes is a decent manager. He has always been a decent manager. So between 2002 to 2013, he was Everton's manager. He was decent manager. And what I find fascinating about him is the kind of players he signs. I remember he signed when he was he signed Pinar at the time. Pinar was at Borussia Dortmund. He signed Pinar. He signed Fellaini. He signed. He makes such mean signings and gets the best out of them. When he signed Tim Cahill, he got the best out of it. And especially when it comes to Fellaini was at times unplayable, especially against Manchester United. He had some of his best performances against Manchester United. He signed who was that defender, Brian Oviedo, from somewhere from I think Copenhagen, and he got the best out of him. So David Moyes is a very, very good manager. The problem is he wasn't a United quality manager of United's quality. And we also forget the fact that David Moyes won the Conference League with West Ham. And you have to give him credit for that. So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against David Moyes, but since last week, He's just doing my head in. He's doing my head in. Absolutely. Guys, just give me a second. I'll be back. एक मिनट उठलो ते 20 मिनट बोलूं पैसा इतना है होता so sorry guys, I'm back. Hey, hi Suru, what's happening, man? Thoughts on Tottenham? I find Tottenham very hard to judge right now because, see, of course, Tottenham. It's not that we can't blame entirely on the manager. The thing with Tottenham is they were rubbish. They were rubbish even last season. I mean, the only reason they had a decent season, and of course, they are going to cherish their bloody Europa League trophy. But even last season, they were abysmal. I mean, we know they finished 17th in the league last season. So it's not like they were good last season as well. They were dreadful even last season. Now they have a new manager. And Thomas Frank's track record is even at Brøndby and Brentford that he takes his time. He needs his time. So maybe it's been 13 games. I think probably Tottenham have been abysmal hope. But they lost against Fulham. They lost against Chelsea. The only team that did not lose against was Manchester United. And but it's difficult to judge right now. See, I'm always wary of judging teams or judging managers in their first 10, 15 games. After probably say 5 to 6 seasons, 5 to 6 months, and when you have 16, 17 games under the manager has under his belt, they have you have better idea. So last night, the goal they conceded, it was a horrible mistake by Vicario. Now we are talking about a player who is playing at the highest of level, and when the such players make these mistakes, it's very hard for us to tell what exactly is going wrong. Because you can't say that if me and you can see that it's such a horrible mistake. It's the player who are world class. They definitely know what's going on. They definitely know they're making those big mistakes. Was it uh, a bad a lack of communication between him and defenders? Because I think what happened was he tried to clear it. He could have easily cleared it and won a goal, a throw in, but he made a bad clearance and they suffered. So again, I'm always wary of judging teams or judging managers. So when you have new manager who has such a big project in front of him with a team that was even dreadful last season. So I'll wait till December at least. I don't think Tottenham are going to sack Thomas Frank. They're not fun to watch. That's one thing. One thing I'm sure of. They're not fun to watch. I don't think see, and to be honest with you, I did not watch last night's game against their game against Fulham, so I'm not going to comment much. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, at least I will have better idea about how Tottenham's season is going to progress. I see glimpses of hope like against City and PSG, but then I see their performance against Fulham, and yeah, exactly. They blow hot and cold. They played well against Manchester. Not exactly played well against Manchester United, but did not lose the game against Manchester United, especially when their performances at their own stadium they have been abysmal. They have been absolutely abysmal. I thought Spurs started off very well towards the start of the season, also in the Super Cup against PSG, but has struggled since then. Yeah, yeah, and let me check Tottenham's last few results. In the last 7 games, they have lost 4. The only game that they won was against Copenhagen. The only game they drew was against Manchester United. They lost against Newcastle. They lost against Chelsea. It was the game against Chelsea was absolutely horrible. It was a horrible performance. I saw that game. Of course, we saw last week what happened against Arsenal. Arsenal completely thrashed them. They lost against PSG and they lost against Fulham. So out of last 7 games, uh, they have lost 4. They have lost 5. They have won 1 against a comparatively weaker team, and they have drawn 1 against Manchester United. So yeah, things in the last month, things have not been going well for Tottenham. Their upcoming fixture, the next game is against Newcastle. Newcastle, who had such a fantastic performance against Everton. Then Brentford, Thomas Frank's old team. Then they are going to Slavia Prague. They are going to play Nottingham Forest. Sean Dyche's Nottingham Forest. Sean Dyche, who eats nails for breakfast. Then they are going to play against Liverpool. Then they are Crystal Palace. So they have a difficult run. Their run is not easy at all. But Palhinha is such a good loan for them, though. But I feel like the rest with Javi while missing out on Eza, they needed a guy with Premier League experience. Agreed. This is a very good point. They needed someone with League experience. Still a better record than Liverpool recently. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, it's good to see that Suru that just like me, you like taking digs at Liverpool all the time. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, Liverpool have been absolutely abysmal. We'll talk about them, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's about Tottenham. The thing with Frank is he keeps tinkering his playing style, and Spurs are not accustomed to play different strategies for every game. He needs to play a consistent strategy for few games. So I think last night, I did not watch the game, but last night I think they played 4-4-3-3. Am I right in saying that? Because that's the lineup I see on Fortnite. No, I see 4-4-2 on Fortnite, but I'm sure it wasn't 4-4-2. It could have been 4-3-3 or something like that. And yeah, he basically changes formation. So again, this is another good point. And team needs some time to play in a particular system. What I observed in the game against Arsenal, that there was no cohesion. What Thomas Frank essentially did against Arsenal was just he had a bunch of defensive players playing. He had back five, which was really defensive. He had two midfielders, Bentancur and Palhinha, and there was no cohesion between them. And so they had 7 players who were ultra defensive. Richarlison was trying to press everyone along with one player. A lot of times it was Kudus. And I have no idea why he went so ultra defensive. But yeah, let's see. Let's wait for a couple of months. Let's at least wait till December for 1 month. And we might have a better understanding of what exactly going with Thomas Frank. And if I'm not mistaken, Thomas Frank also had a slow start at Brentford. So this could be a case of manager just trying to get the feel of play of the new place, trying to get the feel of. See, Spurs are a much bigger club than Brentford. They are a much bigger club. So there will be some adjustment time for manager as well. Of course, the transition is not as big as say Everton and Manchester United, like David Moyes had. But again, this is a big transition, and this is probably the biggest club that Thomas Frank is managing. So let's give him a benefit of doubt for at least for a month, because till December, how many games are remaining till December? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 games in December. So let's see what happens. I hope Spurs fan give him time. That's always been the problem with them. I think this. See, the biggest mistake that Daniel Levy made was not giving Mauricio Pochettino whatever he wants at the time. I personally, I absolutely love Mauricio Pochettino, and for those 4 to 5 seasons, Tottenham were really well. Spurs played really well. I felt had he invested, they had a really good chance of winning a trophy. They had a good chance of winning the Premier League. And we can always make fun of, oh, they are just Spurs, they are never going to win anything. But we forget how good they were between 2015 to 2019. They reached the Champions League final, especially after reaching the Champions League final. They needed more players in their team. David did not do that. He let Mauricio Pochettino go. After Pochettino left, he went to two clubs that are not known for giving their managers time. He went to PSG and then he went to Chelsea. Their fans or their board, they are not going to be that patient. And yeah, I feel bad for Pochettino because I felt at the time, as far as getting the best out of the resources that he had, he was on par with the likes of Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp. He got the absolute best out of that Spurs team. So I have huge respect for him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I also have some I like Spurs, to be very honest. I think most United fans, I'm a United fan, and most United fans like Spurs. They were really good, even not exactly really good, but they were entertaining even during their Glenn Hoddle days. They were entertaining during Martin Yall days, Harry Redknapp's days, and that one season in 2012-13 when they had Ante Villas-Boas as their manager. They were good in that season. So I have some affinity towards Spurs. I think most United fans like Spurs, and yeah, I hope they do well. Look at what Pochettino did with that time period. Like that's what Frank needs. But uh, actually, I'm not sure if he's going to get that much time. I'm not really sure of that because Pochettino, even in 2014-15, I think Spurs finished fifth or sixth, could have been sixth, but they finished sixth. So it was still a respectable position. Last season, they finished 17th. Now, I mean, you can't just say just because they are Tottenham Hotspur, they are going to finish in top 10. Or they are going to finish in top 6. They might finish in top 10. Top 10 might be a good finish for them. But we don't have that right to finish wherever we want just because we are a big club, right? So I'm not really sure if he's going to get some time. I hope he gets some time. At least I hope he gets at least a couple of months. And maybe after a couple of months, we'll have a better understanding of what exactly is that he wants and how players are going to perform. If Le- if Daniel Levy was still there, Frank would have gone. We would have been gone by now. The atmosphere in Tottenham Stadium is horrendous this season. Yeah, that's it. That is true. That is true. I can't even deny that. And after that, I have to talk about the United Everton game. That I I mean, I avoided that for the whole week. And United lost 1-0 against David Moyes' Everton. And it was Dewsbury Hall who scored the goal. And that too, despite Everton getting down to 10 men in the most comical fashion. And we did not do that. It was a horrible performance. And David Moyes, this was David Moyes' first victory at Old Trafford as, as a visiting manager. So from 2002 to 2013, David Moyes was at Everton. In those 11 seasons, he did not win away at United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So in the Premier League, 48 Premier League games, he did not have a single, 44 Premier League games, he did not have a single away win at all the big clubs. And still, he got the job as a replacement for arguably the greatest manager, at least of our generation. I mean, just gives you an idea what an absolutely fucked up club Manchester United has been for quite some time. Just imagine giving David Moyes of all people a chance to manage a club without any resources. He could not make any sign. The only signing he made in 2013-14 was Marian Fellaini. Apart from that, he did not sign anyone. He did not have any help. Just imagine being in that situation. And the club was clearly too good. It was too big for him. And you have people like Rio Ferdinand and some others saying, even Patrice Evra saying that when he came at United, he always used to say, "Oh, what a big club this is. And compare that with someone like Mourinho, or at least Mourinho of 2013, who was a perfect fit for United at the time. But Alex Ferguson did not give him the job. He gave David Moyes the job because David Moyes was cut from the same cloth. Alex Ferguson was managed by David Moyes' father in his youth days or something like that. And yeah, actually saying 10-man Everton being the keyword, yeah, man, it was horrible. It was an absolutely horrible performance. Some black magic by David Moyes, yeah. Some black magic. It was some black magic. But firstly, we have to give credit to Everton for the United game. They were really good in that game. They were quick with their they were good with their pressing. This is not something you associated David Moyes' team with. They were closing people down really well. They were their passing was quick. Ours wasn't. They were moving the ball away very, very quickly. They showed the intent, and even though they just had, I think, 3 to 4 shots, they only had 3 shots, in fact. Despite just having 3 shots, they looked more dangerous teams. United had 20 something shots, but apart from a couple of chances, at no point we felt that we were going to score. So we have to give Everton a credit for them. I thought James Garner had a fantastic game. Again, he's another United graduate, and that's the thing with United's academy, right? Uh, we have always produced players with decent Premier League quality. We have the likes of Danny Drinkwater, Danny Simpson. Both of them are Premier League winners with Leicester City, and both are United graduates. You have someone like Josh King, who was decent for Bournemouth. You have James Garner, Michael Keane. So in that 2011 FA Cup youth winning team, both Michael Keane and his twin brother, Will Keane, both of them played. At the time, they had a fantastic player called Revel Morrison. I absolutely love that player, whatever happened to him. Then you had a player called Ryan Tunnicliffe. I'm not sure where Ryan Tunnicliffe is now. You had a player called Larnell Cole, who was technically really good. You had JC Lingard. And what do you want to say? You might want to say about JC Lingard. JC Lingard has always been a good player. And he might not be a United quality player, but he was always a good Premiership player. We are talking about a player who played in the World Cup. Yeah, just hold on. Can we give Sunderland their flowers though? Who would have thought they would be in this position right now? Yeah, really, true. And Sunderland is one of those. See, I have affinity towards club that were in the Premier League when I started watching football. So in 2002-3 season that was the season when I started watching each and every game. And you had teams like Borough and Sunderland and Villa. I can name that entire 20 teams right now. I love that. I love Sunderland. And after their after the 2017, it was an absolute nightmare for them. They got relegated. They came back. It's always been a big club, and the people forget that they still have. I think Sunderland is the club that with six. I mean, of course, we can't say Premier League, but in the 1890s and 1950s, they won 6 league. What should we call it? English league titles. So it's always been a big club with a big footballing culture. So yeah, I'm happy for Sunderland. It's this is not to say I watch their each and every game, but yeah, they are a decent team. Yeah, I saw that Manchester United under 18 defeated Liverpool under 18-7 in last evening. So at least we got some revenge. At least we got some revenge. And we hope we get the same revenge when we face Liverpool again at Old Trafford. Let's see. That's not going to happen, but you can only hope, right? What do you think is going wrong with Spurs? They had a promising start to the season and seem to be all over the place now. Hey, hi, Niranjan. What's happening, man? Yeah, we discussed right now. See, what happens is you have a manager like Thomas Frank, who has always been a slow starter. And he was a slow starter even at Brentford. Maybe what the issue with them right now is chopping and changing too much right now. Let's give him another month. he this is the this is the biggest club that he is managing. From Brentford to Tottenham, it's a big jump. It's a big jump. And I am not sure what's going at Tottenham right now. Probably by the end of the December, we'll have a better idea. So I wish I had a, I wish I had a, had an answer for you, but I'll still give him another one because he was a slow starter even at Brentford. So maybe by the end of the December, by the end of this year, we'll have a better understanding of what's going at Tottenham. So yeah, Greenwood top scorer in League One. Yeah, I mean, see whatever happened with Mason Greenwood, and it was an absolutely horrible thing. But we can't deny the fact that he has always been a talented player, and he was doing well in the Premier League. And at the time, it felt like he's he was one of those. At the time, I felt that he was a better talent than Rashford. Of course, Rashford in 2016, 17, 15, 16, it felt he was going to be a big deal. And Rashford, he's playing at Barcelona, but Rashford is a fantastic player. And but at the time in 2019-20 season, Mason Greenwood, he played like his entire gameplay was like Robin van Persie. So yeah, but whatever happened with them, I'm not going to defend him for what he did to that poor girl. The club sold him. Whatever happened there, and yeah, if he was doing so well in the Premier League at the age of 18, 19, there is, I mean, he is going to do well in France. And I'm not one of those, oh, Premier League is the greatest league in the world, but it is very competitive. It's really physical. And you have so many great players playing in the Premier League, so many great managers playing in the Premier League. So if someone does well in the Premier League, there is a good chance that he's going to do well in French league. And it's not just Greenwood for Marcel. They also had Aubameyang. They had Benjamin Pavard. They have a good manager, and Roberto De Zerbi, whom we interviewed in the summer before. So basically, at the time, I must have said this. I must have said this so many times. In the summer of 2024-25, I interviewed. We considered a few managers, out of which we interviewed two. One was Thomas Tuchel, and second was Roberto De Zerbi. Thomas Tuchel did not want that United job after what happened with him at Bayern Munich. And De Zerbi's, I think his wage requirement was just too high. So United pulled out of it. But yeah, De Zerbi has always been a good manager. And if are Marseille at the top of Liga now? Let me check. Oh no, they have 29 points. PSG have 30 points, but they're just 1 point behind PSG. So yeah, they are doing really well right now, and they have good manager. They have a couple of really good players. So yeah, they also have Angel Gomez. Angel Gomez. I mean, he's always been a good player. They have Hoybier, they have Aubameyang, of course. They have Benjamin Pavard. So yeah, they have a decent team. At least their first team is good. What is your opinion on Nick Voltamada? I thought, hey Felix, what's happening, man? I thought Voltamada he's really good. And I like players who draw deep and help with the link up play. And this is the reason I think Harry Kane is doing so well. And of course, that is not the only reason, but the way he has transformed his game. And I like players who get involved with the link up play, get involved with the team. I like those kind of players a lot more than just for just pure center forwards. So I'm a huge. I was watching it, and he was everywhere on the pitch. He was dropping deep. He was pressing Everton. He was defending. So yeah, I'm turning into a huge Nick Voltamada admirer. So yeah, he's a good player. Would you feel it will be a loss, at least in terms of financially, if Rashford goes to Barca for 35 million? To be very honest, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less in the sense, I like Rashford. I think his move to Barca is good for all the parties involved. See, I'm not sure about finances. In the sense, I don't care about club's finances. We are already in debt, and at times we lose our shit. Especially, even I lost my shit when we had so many players. I think 5 to 6 players as a bomb squad. And when you announce it to the world that these four, we don't want these 5 players, of course the price is going down. So I was absolutely livid with that stupidity. But doesn't matter if he goes for 35 millions or 45 millions. Man. I really couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. It's very important for our team to just move on from what was happening last season. Um, Monaco, I guess. Sam, can you tell me what exactly were you referring to? I did not get this. Okay, guys, please like our stream. Please subscribe us. Please share it with those who like football. All our growth has been organic. We have not taken help for any digital industry. What we do is it's just three of us friends who have known each other for 20 odd years. It's just three of us talking football. So please, just a request, if you can help us grow, we can do more things for you. We can have more quizzes. We can probably have online and offline quizzes. We had offline quiz a couple of times, and we want to do it again and again. All right. So, then what I'll do is I'll just talk about United for a bit, and after that, let's go to Arsenal and Chelsea game, if that's okay. Sam, when you asked top of the table, I thought, no, Monaco is not at the top of the table. As I thought, Marseille. So, yeah. So last night's game was 2-2 draw, and had Marseille won it, they would have been at the top of the table. So I had that in my mind. All right. Yeah. Now about United. See, I don't want to turn this into a Manchester United podcast, so I'll be brief. By the way, we are also connecting at 5 o'clock today for watch along. So please make sure that you guys join. We can talk again. Let's watch the game again. Watch the game together. So please make sure that you join at 5 o'clock. I'll share the link in some time. Now, only a couple of points I want to say about United's game against Everton. Now, first of all, there is no point in losing our shit about United's game against Everton. See, what happens is, what we usually do is we look at games in isolation. I'm not really sure that's a good way to go about it. When you look at a game like Everton in isolation, it was a horrendous performance, no doubt about it. Uh, you might think that this season might be a continuation of last season, because I don't remember United. I mean, I don't think it was as bad as, say, some of our last season's performances, but it was a horrendous performance. This was. I mean, there was no way for us to get into that game. We were beaten on each and every front. So let's get that out in the open. We were bad. But when we look at any performance in an isolation, it always feels it's worse than it actually is. What I would do is look at Everton's performance in the group of 6 games, right, from Sunderland. So after Sunderland, we won against Sunderland, then at Anfield, then Brighton, then Spurs, and then the Nottingham Forest. So if you look at these 6 performances, for 5 games before that, we were decent. I'm not saying that we were world beaters. Even when we defeated Liverpool, see, beating Liverpool at Anfield has always been it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. It's 500 times more than we think it is. It's a difficult game to win, especially when you are sort of under the cosh. And we did that. I thought we were really good against Brighton. Against Spurs and Forest, we were decent, but we came back when it mattered. We came back. We scored in the 93rd minute or 94th minute against Forest, or 95th. I don't exactly recall the timing. We did that. So when we look at any result just in isolation, things always look worse than they are. And probably what United fans, us fans, what we need to accept is that this team, even though it has some really good players, this is not the team that's going to finish fourth in the league. This is not a team that will play, that is capable of competing in the Champions League. Just imagine, just imagine us winning the Europa League last season and competing in the Champions League now with the squad that we have. Of course, we would have probably made one more signing had we won the Europa League, but just imagine that. And more often than not, we would get absolutely torn. We would get absolutely torn. So we need to consider this. We need to calibrate our expectations. We'll finish probably seventh or eighth in the season. I wish I always not exactly hated, but I do not like the idea of United playing in the Europa League. But I do hope that we play in the Europa League this season. Yeah, Europa League next season. That is absolutely necessary for our uh, mainly for our finances. So I hope we finish in the European place. So we need that European football at any case. So let's consider that we are see, and what happens at times is when we say, oh, if we win the next game, we will be fourth, or if we win the next game, we will be third. But we are seventh for a reason, or we are whatever. We are currently in 10th or 11th, but we are there for a reason because now we are not good. So when I'll tell you something, when Alex Ferguson left and when David Moyes was became the manager, till December, the feeling we always had that, yeah, we can finish fourth, we can finish fourth. But we were always in that seventh, eight, in that 7 to 10. That's about it. And that's the difference between fourth and seventh, it might not be much at the time, but still, we are not good enough to finish fourth. And this is the reality we have to live with. This is something we have to accept. We have to accept at any cost. So yeah, so what I would suggest is let's not look at only Everton game in isolation. What we need is some reaction after the Everton game. We most definitely need a reaction. So we are going to play Crystal Palace. So it's the battle of 3-4-3 now. We are going to play Crystal Palace today. And Crystal Palace, we are talking about a team that's been really wonderfully coached. They won the FA Cup. They have defeated Liverpool. They defeated Man City in the FA Cup final. They have been really, really good this season. So we are talking about a team that is playing like a perfectly oiled machine. Even though they play 3-4-3, they play a decidedly different. And if you have not seen this, Johnny Evans talked about it on Monday Night Football, and he explained the difference between United's 3-4-3 and Crystal Palace's 3-4-3. And if you have not seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It's a fantastic episode. We are talking about Johnny Evans. So Johnny Evans is someone who was very highly rated when he joined United from the academy. He was really highly rated. We are talking about a guy who marked Francesco Totti in Rome in 2007 season. We are talking about a guy who's won a couple of league seasons with Manchester United. So we are talking about a player who knows what he is talking about. And what he said was that Crystal Palace, they move, when they are marking, they move the 5, 3 and 2 wing backs, they move from left to right. And if you see United, a center half, he steps out and he marks an attacker. So that's a huge difference between United and Crystal Palace's 3-4-3. So yeah, that's about that. So it's going to be a battle of 3-4-3. I hope we do well. I have nothing but respect for Palace, and Palace is a team that has its history intertwined with Manchester United. When they reached the semi-final, when they reached the final in 1990, they lost to Manchester United. It was Alex Ferguson's first trophy. When they reached the final in 2015-16, they again played Manchester United. Manchester United won that game. Then they defeated Manchester City in last season's FA Cup final. So they are the club that has their history intertwined with some of the other big clubs, at least the clubs in Manchester. So that's that. And yeah, so that's one point about United. Second point about United I want to make is when you have a couple of players playing well, you can blame those players. But when you have entire team not playing well, there is something amiss. There is something that there is something. The issue could be structural. The issue could be something related to their fatigue. Because Brian and Mbumo, he looked fatigued. He was just dead. He just could not move at all. So there is a possibility that it was something related to fatigue. You never know, right? So that's that. I think We'll talk more about Manchester United when we play Crystal Palace at 5 o'clock. I think 4:45. I'll try to connect. We'll talk more about that. Let me just go to a couple of comments. Could Chelsea beat Arsenal today? Do you think Estevao should start even if Palmer is fit enough to start, given how good he's been recently, momentum and all that? Estevao, he is such a good player. He has scored 4 goals for Chelsea in his last 4 starts. He scored a couple of times for Brazil. And yeah, he is really good player. See, it's all about team balance, right? When Cole Palmer plays, there is a good chance that he will play as a number 10. I don't know if Maresca can play both of them together. I'm not saying they can't play together. I'm not sure if Maresca is the man who can play them together. But why not, right? You have someone like Pedro Neto. I'm a huge fan of Neto. So Chelsea have a really good team right now. They have. I'm a fan of Enzo Fernandez, and Enzo is one of those players who is good defensively, and he's a proper old school box to box player who can press you, who can tackle you, who can run who can run all day long, and he takes interesting positions in the box during at the time of attack. So again, Enzo Fernandez, again another fantastic player. What happens against Arsenal? See, it's very difficult to score against Arsenal right now. Even the game is at Stamford Bridge, and the North London derby. It was an interesting game in the sense this is the first time we saw Arsenal playing without any breaks. It was a free flowing football. Before that, Arsenal were always good, but they were more robust. They were defensively solid, but they played free flowing football in the North London derby. I'm not really sure if they can. I'm not really sure if they can do that tonight, considering the game is at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea are playing well. They have picked up their form. So yeah, it will be an interesting game. I hope the game is at least draw. Or I hope. I mean, you need some, especially when your team is not involved in the title race. I hope there is a chaos. I hope Chelsea wins today's game. But even if Chelsea wins today's game, uh, I think the title is Arsenal to lose. I don't see Chelsea winning the league because when you win the league, you have players. When any team that wins the league, they have players who have been there in that situation before. Now, what will happen with Arsenal is, I think they're cruising in the league right now. There will come a time in January, the players will start getting nervy in January or at least after February because they have not been in that situation. I mean, of course, they have been in that situation considering they've finished thrice. They finished at the second position thrice before. So, but what will happen is things will start getting nervy, but eventually they'll win the league. I think they have to win the league this time. Because if they don't win the league this time, it's going to be an utter chaos at Arsenal. Absolutely utter chaos at Arsenal. Any chance in the future where we can talk about other leagues too? That would be nice if you guys can do that. We'll definitely try to do that, Akshay. We'll definitely try to include other leagues. We'll try to collab with other creators. We'll get more people involved. And I mean, for us to do that, please, it's very important for all of you guys to support us. Please like our stream. Please keep commenting on our reels. Please follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Yeah, please guys do that, and we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely get into that. I hope Amarim must have watched the Strasbourg game against game against Palace midweek. Salzburg played 3-4-2-1 and trebled Palace. Yeah, I think they have Liam Rosenier as their manager. Yeah, good. I mean, see, Crystal Palace do not have the biggest squad in Europe right now. So when they play in Europe in the Conference League, they are going to there will be some fatigue. They will lose games in Europe, at least in Europe. What will happen tonight? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. So I'm very off predictions. I always get my predictions wrong. And yeah, I hope it's a good game. I hope United put up a good fight. And a week back, I would have said that I don't care about the result. I just want United to play with. But I really want United to win now because we have to make a statement after the abysmal Everton game. We have to do that. So yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys have a good day. I hope you guys join us during the watch along for United Crystal Palace. Will most likely will go live by 4:45 Indian time, and I will talk to you then. We'll see you then. We'll try to do this regularly. We'll try to go live. Or if you guys just can give me the time that is convenient to you when we go live. I'm thinking of going live after 8:39 in general. Not talking right now, but on the weekdays. If you have any time which is convenient to you, I'll definitely try to accommodate that according to you guys. But yeah, till then, thank you so much. See you at 5 o'clock. Have a good day. Bye for now.